Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business. It's a Friday, which can only mean one thing, Senior Solutions. But no return of Sandy Heiar this week. We've brought back the one, the only Matt Heiar. Matt, how you doing today?
Good. How are you today?
Doing very, very well. It feels like fall. Finally,
it definitely does.
So you get the long sleeves on. Not just the long sleeves though, but you're rocking the Golden Beavers outfit today.
Absolutely.
Beaver Dam alum, I assume.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Born and raised.
You must get a little special emotion going when homecoming comes around.
It was just always a fun week, just growing up, because we had the Spirit Week, we had, the crazy hat day but Friday was always, wearing your green and gold and supporting your Beavers.
See, I should have worn my ESPN with the Golden Beavers logo on it. I didn't today. That's on me. Was there, were you more excited about participating in, the dress-up days, or were you more about, the events and, did you guys do, the classes battle each other kind of thing?
Yep, they had that. The Powder Puff was always fun to go watch. We did that, and then obviously it all came to, the dance was the dance,
Right.
It's kind of similar to other ones, but the big thing was the football game.
The game is going to be huge. Got the game tonight, of course, Port Washington coming into town. I've always said, as much as I love everybody tuning in on Daily Dodge TV for our sports coverage, which has, become quite a thing and gets a lot of recognition statewide, I would still rather, for this game, turn off Daily Dodge TV. I know it's weird for me to say because it's my baby, but show up at the game. Be there. Be in the moment.
Oh, absolutely. And it's exciting. And this is a unique year because, growing up, we always played Watertown. They were our big rival.
Right.
And we already played them this year.
Right.
I think it was, last week or the week
it was
before?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was early on.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little different, playing a different team. Hopefully we come out with a W. And so it's just exciting stuff. And it's just seeing the community come together,
Right.
All for this. And it just made you feel like more relevant, because, we were just high schoolers, growing up and stuff. But, once you go to the parade, which are you going to the parade?
I haven't planned to be there, yeah. I want to check it out.
Yes, I have an appointment, but I'm going to try to make it there quick before. So I should be down there right around 4, and that's what they're assuming the parade will get there.
Hits it downtown about then, yeah.
So I'm hoping I can make the parade and meet my mom and boys down there. They're just excited because they get off of school early.
There you go.
Yeah, so my mom's picking them up at 3 o'clock, and they're going to head to the parade, and I'm going to meet them there and just start the festivities.
There you go. And you touch on something kind of important. We have been told by the school districts, if you're going to be picking your kids up early, let the office know. Make things easier for them.
Big deal.
Yeah, definitely, because some kids won't be picked up early because they do require the busing or the after-school stuff or whatever. So if you're going to be picking up the kids early for the parade, speed up the process a little bit. Let them know ahead of time. Then usually the kids are ready to go, too.
Yeah, it's just interesting that we don't have an early release because, just imagine being the kids that aren't going to the parade.
Right.
They'll be like, I wonder just, what the attendance is going to be after 3 o'clock today.
Right. Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot of kids going. Absolutely. And there should be. I'd love to see everybody downtown as well. If you can't be there, if you're going to miss it for some reason, that will be on Daily Dodge TV as well. So go ahead and check that out. Wade Bates giving his best play-by-play of all the floats that come by. We'll see how many people he shouts out in names because he knows everybody.
He does. He is a local celebrity, so it's fun to see him just being around the people and stuff like that because he just can't walk 10 feet without just talking to people.
Right, and if you see him at the game tonight, apparently he can't turn down a hot dog if somebody buys it for him. It's some rule he's got. So, get him a couple, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if we can finally get him to turn down one. Of course, we're not here to talk about hot dogs. We're not here to talk about Wade Bates. We're not here to talk about homecoming, although it is a lot of fun. We're here to talk about something a little bit different. And we are now T-minus, 5 days out?
Yes, 5 days.
That enrollment period that we've been talking about. How you feeling?
Well, I've already had a good amount of days. I've had about 10 days to see the plans, to see how it's going to go. So it doesn't look like there's crazy changes happening for next year. I'm still waiting for the actual announcements of what the Medicare costs are going to be, what the deductibles are going to be. There's estimates that we're seeing, but obviously it's going to go up.
Right.
Right.
Now, do you hear that on the 15th? Good morning, welcome. Here's your numbers.
No, it's sometime in October, sometimes even November. But with our government just not even,
Yeah, how do they
working.
make those decisions when things are shut down?
I know. It just makes me upset sometimes. It's like, oh, I wish I could just be upset by policy and just not show up to work.
Oh boy, if it was only that easy, I'd have upset. So I'm sorry, no jelly-filled donuts in the break room. That policy doesn't suit me. I'll be at home today.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on because there are like on the government website Medicare.gov. There's changes that happen sometimes, live, like throughout the enrollment period, where a drug plan might go away or come back, or so that's where there is disclosures on the website saying due to the government shutdown, the benefits might not change or there might be a delay. So it's a little unnerving basically to see like, okay, well, what's going to be happening here? And so hopefully that gets worked out. So far it does not look good.
Right.
So that's where it stinks because it's like, I understand they're very passionate about whatever side they're on, but it's like there's a lot of people that aren't getting paid, potentially here soon. And then there's a lot of people that are going to be enrolling for insurance, and they want to make sure that there's not going to be a change once we've already talked to them. So we've had the drug plan season has already started.
Right.
We're running plans right now. We can't sign anyone up till the 15th, but we're getting a head start because we had that stack of paper that was really building up. And so that's actually all completed already. And we've already contacted a lot of people saying, hey, do nothing. And those are my favorite calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why we can't stress enough that this time is to review, not necessarily switch.
Right.
So the commercials are already happening. They're on TV. You're missing out. There's changes in Medicare. There's not. There is really not. Medicare is going to be the same. A lot lately this week has been people calling about the government shutdown.
Right.
And they are arguing over the tax credits extension. So,
Yeah, because that could be a thing or it
yes,
could not be a thing.
And that is, so the Inflation Reduction Act basically in 2022 extended the COVID tax credits.
Right.
And we're talking about the Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
So they're set to expire January 1st of 26, which is coming up, obviously. And I think people are getting it misconstrued. There still is going to be a tax credit. But we're just going back to the ways it used to be pre-COVID, where you get a tax credit, like, for example, like say you have a household income of $80,000, you'll get a tax credit, right, of $500. But if your household is $81,000, you don't get a tax credit.
Right.
So
It's that cliff you're talking about.
yes, and it's kind of stinks, the cliff aspect of it. I wish it wasn't so drastic like that. I wish it just kind of fell off, slowly. Right. But I mean, the COVID tax credits were very generous, and that helped out a lot of people and it
Right.
helped them bridge their gap to retirement. So it was great. But the problem is, we're having household incomes of $120,000 and they're getting tax credits still. They probably could pay for
Right.
more for insurance than someone with $60,000.
Right.
So they are set to expire, and basically, if you're still getting a tax credit if you're within 400% of the poverty level. So that's 4 times the poverty level. Like, yes, you're still going to get
Right.
a tax credit. They're not going away.
And that's based on national poverty level, or is
Yes.
that okay?
Yep, because it's a federal program. So that's why the tax credits are still going to be there. Now, they could extend them. Last I heard, they were debating on extending them one more year. And if that'd be great in our industry, obviously.
Right.
But we just have to wait and see. We need the government to be working
Right.
to figure this out. So that's kind of the debacle, and we don't find out that information for November 1st. So everyone's been calling, trying to set appointments up, in October here to, see what it's going to look like for next year, but we don't know.
Right.
And even if they get up and working and they're not extending the tax credits, then it's going to be just kind of basically how it was pre-COVID. You still can get a tax credit, based on certain incomes. So yes, but it's just kind of how any government program works. Like if you're lower income, you're going to get a tax credit.
Right.
So nothing's really going to drastically change. It's those people on that cliff line where it gets a little tricky, but if we have a good income plan set for retirement where we're doing IRA withdrawals, or we're pulling from Roth instead, where that's not taxable. We have ways around that and to control that. Now, the worst part is if we're still working, that's when, you can't just say in October, like, hey, I'm at my limit. Sorry, I'm done working. So that's where we're going to run into some problems. But it's very fluid right now at the moment. So we're just going to have to see. But there is going to be tax credits regardless of the decision they make moving forward once they decide to go to work. And we'll kind of just go from there. But that is the big anxiety. It looks like with the drug plans and the advantage plans, there's not a lot of crazy changes. A couple drug plans went away where they're getting the letter where we have to switch.
Right.
So, but the drug plans, there's only 10 of them this year.
Yeah, that's what your mom was saying last week, is fewer than we were expecting.
Yes, which I'm good with. In a perfect world, there'd be one drug plan. Everyone would have the same drug plan, and then my life would be very easy.
Right.
But 6 of the 10 drug plans are $0.
That's a lot, right? That's 60%.
Yes, absolutely. So, and the other ones are pretty high premiums, so they're not too popular at the moment. So drug plans, it doesn't look too bad. Advantage plans doesn't look too bad. There's not a lot of crazy changes. But the big thing is with the marketplace insurance, where everyone's worried, what is it going to be? And that's where now my anxiety was down, and I was having a good time. And then all of a sudden, we'll see what happens with this. But we're going to make it work, and we do every year. And so we just kind of have to roll with the punches. These are 1-year contracts, and we'll have to see what happens. But we're going to make sure everyone's insured. You can still retire, especially if you are one of our retirement clients. We plan for this, right? We're just going to pull from this bucket instead of this bucket, and it's all about taxable income. So we'll have to see. But yes, this could be situations where it's like people are getting a part-time job just for fun, just to do something.
Right.
And where it's like, well, if you want a tax credit, I wouldn't do that part-time job.
Right.
And that's where it kind of gets to the point of like, but we have to choose quality over life, right? Like our day is picked out, and we're not going to let the government or a tax credit, decide, how we're going to live our retirement.
Right.
So that's why that's been the big thing this week. And I keep wanting to give people answers, but I feel like I'm a politician answering it. Like, well, we will see,
Right.
and hope for the best. And it kind of stinks. So everyone just wants a little bit more clarity on this, and as do I. But yeah, we're just going to make sure that you can go to your doctor, that you're comfortable with the premiums, the deductibles, the max out of pockets, the copays, and we'll just kind of go from there. But yes, I feel like November 1st to December 15th, which is the enrollment period for the marketplace, that is going to be a lot more tense than the actual Medicare enrollment period from October 15th to December 7th. So we can't sign anyone up for a Medicare drug plan or Advantage plan for a January 1st start date until October 15th, next week, Wednesday, I believe. So there's a lot going on right now. It's what I call controlled chaos.
Right.
So, we're going to have to see what happens. And everything's up in the air, just like it was a month ago.
Right. Right. Well, if you're searching for a little bit of clarity, maybe we could try and offer some here. You can always give us a call if you want to ask Matt Heiar a question. Give us a call at 920-885-4446. You can also call or text us at 920-887-9595. And we've got Ashley up in the studio, more than happy to take your calls or route your text down to us if you have one. I want to throw a few things out there because sometimes there's confusing lingo on stuff. And I hear people say like, oh, the Affordable Care Act is great. It was great. And I'm glad that we have that instead of Obamacare. Or, oh, I loved Obamacare, but then they replaced it with it. Those are the same thing.
Absolutely.
That's just different terminology because people like to put labels on stuff.
Yeah, so healthcare.gov, Marketplace, Obamacare, same thing.
All the same thing.
Yep, they just rebrand it, new name, or it's basically the same. It's all done on healthcare.gov, which is the Marketplace, which originally was Obamacare.
Right. And now when we think about insurance that we have, we think about, first and foremost, we have our group insurance. That's our standard. Everybody who has a job and has insurance provided through work has group insurance, more than likely.
Yeah, for large employers, absolutely.
Yeah. And then if you move on from that, you have Cobra, which is that like extending, like, oh, you had group insurance, now you don't. So you're basically footing the bill, but to keep your coverage.
Yeah, so you're paying, because typically with large employers, we have an employer paying 70, 80, 90%, of your premiums. And with Cobra, it's the continuation of your coverage, but you're paying the full boat.
So you're paying whatever your employer would have been paying plus whatever you would have been paying anyways.
Yes, and those are shocking numbers. But if we're not getting tax credits, and these plans are pretty catastrophic on the marketplace, it might make sense to do Cobra. Now, we're kicking the can down the road for 18 months, but Cobra is a federal law, and you or your spouse should be able to elect Cobra if wanted. So, but a big thing that people don't realize, we laugh at Cobra numbers.
Right.
They come back because we always want to compare and contrast.
Right.
Because if we choose a marketplace plan, Cobra's gone.
Right.
We don't get that option anymore. So that would be one thing we look at. But what people don't realize is dental. Because with group insurance, you lose dental. And it's a lot of people are Cobraing dental. And they're like, I didn't know I could do that. And it's like, absolutely you can. So
I didn't know that either.
yes, it's a continuation of your benefits. So that's where we laugh at Cobra numbers for the health insurance aspect of it, but that might make sense to Cobra or dental. Another thing with Cobra, sometimes if your deductibles are already met, and you're retiring, just say this month, so you have November and December, it might make sense to go on Cobra for 2 months just to finish out the year because we're still doctoring or we have a surgery coming up and we already have our deductibles met. That might make sense. The problem is for the Affordable Care Act, you need a life event, right, to get on it. Loss of coverage, divorce, death, a reason why you lost it. But like if you call me in June and say, hey, I'm on Cobra, it's expensive, I can't afford this anymore, I want to go in the marketplace. That is not a qualifying event because you are voluntarily leaving Cobra.
Right.
You have to lose coverage like where it wasn't your option.
Right. So either you have to fill out the last of the 18 months it's available to you or have some other major event happen.
And not so much the 18 months. We just have to wait until the end of the year to get to the enrollment period
gotcha.
for the
Okay.
marketplace. So we'd have to go to the end of the year.
Right.
And then we'd sign up for the marketplace for a January 1st start date.
Which can look very different for you if it's halfway through the year as opposed to January 1st when you are changing your mind.
Right. And if like it's,
Or January 2nd.
right. Well, if it's March or
Right.
say, and then you have 2 months left to Cobra, that's your 18 months. You'll get a letter from your Cobra saying, hey, your insurance is ending, like not your choice.
Right.
Then we could get on the marketplace.
Gotcha.
But that's why when we make the decision, we have to, if we're going to choose Cobra, we have to run with it, But if it's just going to go till March, like the final 18 months, it's like it probably would make sense to go in the marketplace, go in the enrollment period and start January 1st because we don't like starting two different insurances and meeting new deductibles and max out of pockets.
Few questions. So if I got group insurance through work, I get done, and I go, nope, the most cost-effective plan for me is to go with one of these other plans, not Cobra, but go with something that's on the Affordable Care Act. Can I still do the Cobra just for the dental?
Absolutely.
Because dental's is or is not on the Affordable Care Act. That's just medical, right?
Yeah, so, there is some dental plans on the Affordable Care Act, but I'm not, we want to make sure your dentist takes them, and I'm not, like, too privy on, like, the benefits.
Right.
There's a lot of contractual language with dental plans where it's like, oh, yeah, I got a plan, and then it's one cleaning per year.
Right.
There's no coverage for fillings or, anything, crowns like that.
Right.
So that's where if you're comfortable with your dental plan, and it's affordable with the Cobra prices, it might make sense to keep it. So it's very situational because some people come back and they're like, wow, my dental plan's $120. I was only paying $14 a check.
Right.
It's like, yes, well, they were paying a lot towards it. And maybe we would find something else then. A lot of the problems with the dental plans is, though, I can show you different dental plans and sign you up for dental plans, but there's waiting periods.
Right.
Everyone comes in for a dental plan when they have a crown coming up or a root canal. And that's typically with the major stuff, there's a 12-month waiting period.
Wow.
Yes. So that's also a situation where we have to, you don't want to wait, but a typical dental year is 2 cleanings and an x-ray, right? I mean, yes, we've had the bad year, the crown, the root canal. It was expensive, even with insurance, but we don't have that every year. And a lot of things we're noticing right now is like people on certain medications or people that are doing chemo and radiation where it can really affect your teeth.
Right.
So that's where getting that dental plan sooner than later is just peace of mind for the future. But we don't need a Cadillac dental plan.
Right.
That's
We all want a Cadillac, but not necessarily needed it.
that means you're paying for the Cadillac.
Right.
So that's why when you come into our office, you know, the main thing with its Medicare marketplace, you know, it's affordability, comfort with the plan, and our health. But the main one is affordability. Things are not cheap nowadays, and we just want to make sure that, you know, you're covered, you can go to your doctors, and you can afford it.
Right.
That's the main thing with anything, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, because I mean, if it doesn't fit your pocketbook, doesn't fit your lifestyle, then why?
Yeah, well, it's almost, you know, you go get a cell phone, right? And you get the best plan possible, you know. You don't need it,
Right.
but you have it because it's the best plan, and it's
Right.
that's
I'd rather not need it and have it than, you know, have it and or not have it and need it, right?
right. It's you got me confused with needs, but
Yeah.
yeah, and it's a needs basis basically, you know. So like, you know, what are your concerns? What are, you know, we just want to make sure like, oh, you're traveling. Well, we should probably go with this insurance because they have options where you can travel or you can go out of network.
Right.
You know, so simple things like that. And that's why we have the big screen in the conference room, because I'm a visual learner, but I'm also just realized, like, just working in this industry, I'm a visual teacher. Sometimes, like, I'll say things and I'm like, my words aren't, I'm just
Right.
not using them correctly, just like when I'm on the radio.
Right. Meanwhile, here's a big graphic.
Right. Look at this, charts, you know, and it kind of just, you know, just puts everything in perspective for people. And I feel like people are educated a lot better by just seeing is believing kind of deal.
Right. Well, and I imagine, especially when you're comparing numbers and you're like, look, here's the two plans that are available to you. Here's what this one's going to cost you every year. This is what this one's going to cost you every year. Seeing two numbers side by side, it's very easy to go, I like that number better than that number.
Well, right. And it's just like with the Advantage plans, how we evaluate them the last 10 days is three things. What am I paying monthly? Where can I go? And what's the worst case scenario? So basically, we find the cheapest out-of-pocket PPO plan. So it's not really like in Dodge County for next year, there's 37 plans. There's 38 this year.
Right.
So not a drastic change, but we can kind of evaluate it and say like, oh, look, you know, see, why would we have this plan that has 7,000 out of pocket when there's this plan with 4,000?
Right.
You know, and it's not like some sales pitch. It's like, would you
Right.
feel more comfortable with 4,000 out of pocket or 7,000?
I mean, obviously, 4,000 sounds much better. But if somebody looks at you and goes, no, Matt, I really want to pay 7, you're not going to be like, all right, you know, not going to let you.
And I have had people do that. And believe it or not, I don't know why, but because of they like this benefit, like it's a gym membership, or they like,
Right.
and it's like, I'm worried about health insurance. You know, if we have that $1 million cancer year, you know, you can go to this doctor, you can travel, you can, you know, you have options, you know, and those are important things.
Right.
Yes, the benefits that we're hearing on TV, if they're a benefit to you, use them, absolutely.
Right.
But it's not why we pick a plan.
Never mind, start weighing your options. If I save $3,000, but I have to pay $68 a month for a gym membership, sounds like a deal to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then if you're paying $68 a month, shop that gym membership.
Yeah, definitely use it. So my next question about these plans is when I think about, obviously, group insurance, if I'm married or if I got kids or whatever, covers me, the wife, the kids. As long as I choose that option, it's there. If I go into the Affordable Care Act, those plans are also for you spouse, kids, whatever, depending on what you select. Cobra is a continuation, so it'd be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once we dive into the Medicare plans, suddenly it's individual.
Yes.
So
Yep.
that could change your entire mentality when you're looking at numbers, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that is a misconception. A lot of people are like, well, can we do, you know, a group plan with Medicare? And just Medicare, you are your own entity, you know, so, and I try to stress how you do not have to pick the same plan as your spouse. Do people do that a lot? Yes, because it's a comfort.
Right.
You know, and that's totally fine. It's just great sometimes when, you know, there is a age difference, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, my spouse has been on Medicare for 3 years, really like their plan. and I want to go with that. Perfect. Well, I'll show you that, but I'm also going to show you your other option, because it's just we're so used to having the same. I have the same card as my wife, right?
Right.
And that's great, but let's look at other options, because your health and your affordability might be different. And then some households, they have separate checking and bankings and stuff like that. So if that's the case, well, maybe this is a little expensive for you, or maybe you might want to jump up to this because this has a little bit more coverage on X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So yeah, that's why the commercials have started. The chaos is happening, and we are getting a lot of calls, especially with our retirement. Fall reviews is happening too, and then with the government stuff, and the sky is falling. That I'm getting a lot of that. Where I think we actually might be thinking about taking on a new team member.
Ooh.
Yes, so we are looking for. I think we have it out on Indeed, and I think it's on the Daily Dodge
I know it is because I
Wanted.
made sure it was on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's
Yes.
on the Help Wanted page of Daily Dodge. So
Yeah, so we're
tell us
looking-
about that. Yeah.
We're looking for another superstar to come team up with us, and basically clerical, front desk, and just controlling the chaos with us, and to be part of the team. So if you're interested, you can give us a call at 920-887-0580. It's a unique time to come in, because if you were hired in June or February, it's kind of, a slower time, which
Right.
obviously, but this is kind of getting thrown into the wood chipper. You will not be bored. You will have plenty to do,
Right.
and you will talk to a lot of people.
So
And
if
I
you're
know-
somebody that likes to get thrown right in head first, this is the time.
Absolutely, and it's the days go quick, but it's really fulfilling, because you're helping people,
Right.
and that's the coolest part about what we do. And rewarding is because people are coming in and they're asking for help, and a lot of people say like, well, I don't know anything about that, and it's like, no, I'm not asking you to be an insurance agent. I'm asking you to write their questions down, answer them if you know them, obviously. Or, and a lot of it's just customer service. Someone's like, hey, I want to change my banking information, on my policy. Okay, that's one signature, right? And we fax it into the providers, and it's a lot of stuff like that where, but yes, if you're willing or looking to come team up with us, absolutely. We're kind of taking interviews. We're going to start that process. Just to make sure, because it's a lot for the girls and for me, where I can't help as much out there, and they're running around and walk-ins are coming in and stuff. So it's, I feel like this is just going to be the best for our family, is to kind of just, spread the work out a little bit. And yeah, it's a really fun time, and we're really going to show you what it's like with the controlled chaos, and you'll either like it or not like it.
Right.
So it's not like this always, obviously, but yeah, and some people, if you're attention to detail and you like sending emails out, answering the phone, customer service, then you definitely could be right for our family.
Right. And definitely be somebody who gets to help a lot of people with stuff that, they don't deal with every day.
Absolutely. And that's why it's, I was debating on part-time, and it's like, no, I would like someone more full-time, just come in, and there's always something to do, whether it's talking to Heiar about new radio ads and marketing, and there is always something to do. And yeah, we've just been growing and adding to our team, and it's just, it's exciting times. Even though it's nerve-wracking, just because a lot of our policies and rules are all controlled by the government.
Right.
And with the government being the government, it's interesting times. So we're excited to add someone that wants to come help out. Love helping our local community. Then you are perfect for the job.
And again, I'm going to throw your number out there again, 920-887-0580, or I'm assuming if they want to stop in and drop off a resume or something, they could do that right there at the office over at the Heritage Mall.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. you had mentioned something a little bit earlier, talking about people calling up and already kind of asking about the government shutdown thing. This isn't the first time the government's done a shutdown.
Absolutely not.
Has it ever happened during like this time frame for you guys?
Not that I can remember, but it's affecting us because the two sides are separated on the tax credit.
Right. Something
so
that's very related to what you're doing.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unique in that way because we have 20 something days until we see the tax credits.
Right.
So even if they agree to extend tax credits, like, are they going to instantly be shown on the website? So that's why we're relying on government websites.
Right.
It was interesting because even with Medicare, when it came out like October 1st, obviously we're on it right away, and I'm sure a lot of people are on it, but the website would just go haywire.
Right.
We'd be running drug plans and all of a sudden I type in a zip code to start running another person's drug plan, and it says that zip code doesn't exist. It's not true because
Right.
it's a Beaver Dam zip code, but it just would stop working.
Right.
So that's a lot of it is just patience and just take a step back, start doing something else, and then usually it corrects itself, after a while. But one big stressor is it's really hard for us since we're so busy to be signing people up for Social Security, just
Right.
busy time. So if we might be able to squeeze in appointments, I've been working some Saturdays too, where we could do that, but you need your account. The dreaded Social Security account is huge because we've had so many appointments now where we're trying to set these accounts up and it's not working.
Right.
And it's basically we get stuck at recognizing your phone number. So many people are like, well, that's my cell phone. I've had my cell phone for the last 10 years, but to the government, your landline was always your number. So for your cable bills, because that's all we had back in the day. Well, that's what they still have. So that's why we got to make sure that we're, if we're having that, because I've ran into situations where they're like, we don't have our landline anymore. And I was like, watch this. And I typed in their landline and it recognized it, but we didn't have someone to call.
Right.
So that's why if you can attempt to set that account up, that's huge because that's how we sign you up for Medicare also.
It looks like we do have a call coming in on the line, so we're going to go ahead and go to the phones. Hello, you are on with Matt Heiar.
Hello, my name's Dan. I had a question. If you could talk a little bit about the difference about association, quote-unquote, health plans and exchange health plans, kind of the pros and cons. You're hearing a lot about association plans, and they come in typically cheaper premiums, but I'm sure you pay for it, and I'd be interested in just hearing you respond to that.
The association plans?
Yes.
As in, like, are you talking like hospital indemnity plans?
Well, I just know that there's a lot of, plans that don't necessarily follow, the requirements of an exchange plan, the essential benefits, pre-existing conditions, annual and lifetime max. You see them advertised a lot, and I just was curious what your opinion was on the difference between those kinds of plans and the exchange plan.
Okay. All right. So that's a great question. Thank you for your call. So the association plans so the Affordable Care Act has like standards. Right. And we have to make sure that they are major medical. So they will cover $1 million cancer year. Right. And they have all your preventatives of your physicals, your mammograms, your colonoscopies. So they will go above and beyond after you meet your deductibles, copays, max out of pockets. Some of these other plans, so there's like association plans, there's health shares, where basically people are teaming up and they're putting money in the pot, and then you have share amounts. Well, those get a little skeptical because they can ask health questions.
Right.
They can ask your faith. And on the cards that I've seen, they say, this is not health insurance. Typically, they want you to negotiate with doctor's office. They want you to submit the bills for reimbursement.
Right.
And they have some maximums. Like there was a policy I saw that said we cover up to 500,000, which seems like a lot.
Right.
But when with all the processes and like like I always talk about the $1 million cancer year, that scares me, because they're not major medical.
Right.
They can deny a claim. They can ask, so like if you answered a question, one of the health questions, and you were not honest about it, like say you said, "Oh, I don't smoke," but then you get lung cancer, they could say like, "Well, I'm not covering you."
Right.
Because they're not run by our insurance commissioner. So we don't have the backing of that. So they are, I can't say they're bad. I mean, some people are on them.
Right.
And stuff like that. And then you can get to the indemnity plans, which we got to be very careful on those, because those are like, you go to the ER, they give you $50, but they need proof that you went to the ER. They need a bill that has all the diagnostic codes on it, to get reimbursement. You basically have to show your right arm.
Right.
And well, we all know going to the ER is more than $50.
Right.
Or you sleep over at the hospital, they'll give you $200 or $1,000, whatever it may be. So like those could be added maybe to, an insurance plan, or if you have like a marketplace plan and it's a high deductible, it could be, because they're typically cheaper premiums.
Right.
And they're not asking your income. So I'm just not a huge fan of those, because we are seeing how expensive, medical procedures are, and injections, infusions, and stem cell, like all these the chemo radiations, they are so pricey, which they should be. I mean,
right.
They're obviously very unique and innovative, but the major medical just makes me feel more at ease, because I don't even know if you have to be an insurance agent to sell, like, these health share plans and stuff like that. But some people, they work, because people are like, I'm healthy, I don't have to worry about it. But what about an instance where, you get in a car accident, and they don't have insurance? And that was the biggest thing with it. People were having problems at the doctor's office. They were billing them like they were private paying, like they didn't have insurance.
Right.
Because that card they have, it says this is not insurance. So that's the scary part, is like, at least if I have this company, and they're on the marketplace, the federal marketplace, and they said something like that, like, we're not paying, you have a backing. You could go to your insurance commissioner and say, hey, you could file complaints. I would feel more comfortable actually dealing with an actual insurance company that,
Right.
You're not their first person. But yeah, that's the difference. The Affordable Care Act is obviously in limbos right now. We know that but there's certain things of it like that need to be fixed, and there's certain things that there's no way they can change. Like the pre-existing condition is one of the best things ever. Back in the day, some people wouldn't even get insurance if they had cancer.
Right.
That's not fair.
Right.
And that's not their fault. So insurance companies build very large buildings.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, that is one thing that should stick around. But I think as a government, we should be like kind of getting on them, like, hey, like right now the max out of pocket is typical is like $9,200, and it's very unique how all the companies, that's their max out of pocket.
Right.
They all know what each other's.
Yeah.
And I think if we could get more maybe insurance companies in there to make it more competitive and try to, undercut each other and just be like, all right, we have a lower deductible. But the problem is right now, this tax credit, so the tax credit that you're getting based on your income for your household, that is how much the government is giving that insurance company, whichever one you choose.
Right.
It's a lot of money. If you start going by 15, 20, 30 million people that are on this, marketplace insurance. So the tax credits are coming back, obviously 15 to 20%. That's what they said. Well, the insurance companies came out and said, well, we're going to raise the rates then.
Right.
Okay, so this is going to kind of be a double whammy. That's why we're a little nervous about the marketplace. And maybe these association plans and share plans might actually start being more competitive now, where they're going to be like, well, we're not asking your income. Why don't you take this? I get a little nervous about them not being the major medical where, yeah, if you get something preventative, like on a marketplace plan, you don't pay for it. It's your yearly exam. But I had a person that used their health share and they went and got their yearly exam and they got a bill. They're like, I didn't do anything. I just did my exam. I stuck to the script. Well, in the fine print, it said, we will cover up to $500 of your yearly exam.
Right.
And that's where, they had to pay it.
Right.
So I get nervous about if the grass is greener on the other side, it sometimes could be.
Right.
But I don't want you to have to find out the hard way. And it seems like in life, that's how it always is.
Right.
Not doing that again.
We're trying to save you from that here if we can.
Yes. And it just because medical bills can accumulate so fast. And I always have people knock on wood. I'm not even a superstitious person, but, I'm healthy now.
Right.
And it's, of course, but we just don't know the future. And that's the scary part. So, yes, the market plan, I know $9,200 out of pocket right now this year is a lot of money. But there's payment plans, and if we have $1 million cancer year, $9,200 in the grand scheme of things is nothing.
Right. Drop in the bucket.
So, that's why if we come into this world with nothing, if we leave with nothing, so be it.
Right.
So that's why we just want to make sure that it's not going to affect us the rest of our life.
Now, something that you kind of hinted at is that a lot of times if you're on one of these associated plans, you're treated as being a individual cash payer, essentially. Like you're paying out yourself.
To the doctor's office.
Right, to the doctor's offices, which means they're going to send you a bill, which means that you're getting the full brunt of what the cost is. Whereas with insurance companies, they'll oftentimes pre-negotiate, like, hey, we're not paying more than $50 for an x-ray. And then they turn around and tell you that you're going to be responsible for, let's say, 20% of that cost. So if they're not paying more than $50, they cover all of it. You suddenly get a bill, and there's your bill for $10. Whereas if you had to pay for it for yourself, well, then if the hospital says, well, normally x-rays are 120, well, you're paying 120 unless you can call and get them to drop it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, some of these association plans are like small businesses, right? Well, they'll team up together, and basically then they're considered a larger block of business, a more large group, so they can, be competitive and stuff, and they can get better quotes.
Right.
Because that's the tough part is like people coming in like, hey, I have a group of 8, a group of 8, it's really tough. And so like they really, really scrutinize like, well, you have 2 64-year-olds that work with you. So their premium is $800 a month. You could pay 50%, 60%, whatever you want to pay, and then the rest comes out of their check.
Right.
But your 25-year-old, their premium's only $300. So it's really, like, because they're not a large group,
Right.
They can kind of scrutinize, your age, or if you smoke, or if you have dependents.
Right.
But some large employer around here, the group plan is X amount of dollars. If you have a family plan, you have a family plan then. So, with association plans, with actually like team people grouping up like businesses, it is making it's more competitive, but at the same time, you're still a number in the grand scheme of things, and that's where the small groups really have an unfair advantage right now because they are who they are. They're not going to double their employees just to get better health insurance.
Right.
And that's why there is like HRAs, like health reimbursement arrangements, where employers are not offering coverage for smaller groups, and then they're just reimbursing for premiums. So like, go seek it yourself, and then we'll reimburse you X amount of dollars based on your salary. There is options for that, but yeah, it's really tough, and insurance is just it's a trickle down effect. I mean, if you get Tylenol at a hospital, you know, it's $20 for 2 of them.
Right.
You know, that's what you're billed.
Right.
You know, so the insurance company pays that. It's just, but the $100,000 surgeries are common nowadays. So it's just kind of like we talk about universal health care and how great it would be. It would be, but we just pay too much.
Right.
For pharmaceuticals, for procedures, but like hospitals are probably paying a lot just to get their software. And so I just don't know how we attack that or where you start to, but we've just seen it. You know, we're always talking about how things keep getting more expensive and more expensive. Well, this is one, insurance premiums and claims and medical bills, they are outrageous. So these are certain things where, you know, that can help you guide yourself basically to like what you want to choose when you get to Medicare, because like you've had the same plan for how long? Because guess what? That's what you have. That's your options.
That's my choice.
That's why it's so overwhelming for people when they get to Medicare, because it's like, holy cow, I'm getting all these, you know, letters, pamphlets, companies, you know, reaching out to me, emails. My neighbor said this, my sister said this, and you know, it's a lot. But that's why we try to simplify it. We break it down. We show you visuals. We give you literature. We show you your options, and we try to educate, because we want you to understand what these different options are, why you would choose these, pros and cons of each one, you know, and let you make the best educated decision. So that's why there isn't a right answer. No matter what you pick, we just want to make sure you can go to your doctor. We want to make sure you can afford the premiums. We want to make sure that you're comfortable with the max out of pockets. And that's what it comes down to, besides all those commercials talking about gym memberships.
So obviously, you know, like you said, there is no right answer necessarily, but there is definitely a right way to get your questions answered and to get you on the right path and get a lot more information. And that's to visit you guys over there at Heiar Insurance. I want to remind everybody your hours right now, 9 to noon, Monday through Friday, and 1 to 5 as well. I don't know why I always put the days in between the times. It's I guess that's just me. 920-887-0580, right over here at the Heritage Mall. Well worth swinging by, checking out, asking your questions. As a reminder, everybody, if you've got that open enrollment period coming up or that change period coming up, October 15th through December 7th. So if you're one of those people that's going to be falling into that window and you have not already called, booked an appointment, got a little pre-planning done, then you know you're not ahead of the game. We would rather you be ahead of the game.
Absolutely. And support your local businesses, because guess what? You're going to use this insurance, and you want to be able to talk to that same person that you took it out with.
There you go. Absolutely true. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time today, and I got to let you get about your day because you got appointments, so you can make it to the parade.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll see you out there at the homecoming game tonight.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So the only thing left to do is let everybody know.
When you want to retire,
Call Heiar. This has been a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.